What it do, what it do, what it do. It's your boy Andrew Schultz, aka Mr. Goody Two Shoes. And I'm here as always with Joseph Huggins, aka Old Man Huggy, for episode 50. And guess who else is here? Every motherfucker that's ever been on the podcast. That's right. First, we got the Iron Ape Tyson. Debut, episode 5, baby. Then we got Mr. Austin Reigns. Debuted episode 17. And who do we have? Last but not least, the Tiger himself. He debuted probably on episode 1. He wasn't even here. But he's been on every episode ever since. The Godfather. Let's go, motherfuckers.
I guess, what's up? I'll go first. Nah, man, it's good. Dude, this is crazy. Episode 50. This is tight. We can actually see each other right now. We can all see each other. This shit's wild. And I'm excited to have you guys on. And I look forward to halfway to the century mark, bro. Like 50. They said it couldn't be done. They say we couldn't do it. We're like Floyd Mayweather, minus like all the shitty personality and not being able to read and domestic violence and, you know, just being overall a garbage person. But other than that, with this podcast, we are just like Floyd Mayweather. But I can read books.
I would say Bill Russell.
Respect women.
You know?
Yeah, R.I.P. Bill Russell. Big Celtics fan here, so R.I.P. Bill Russell, greatest champion of all time in basketball opinion.
And we're the greatest champion of all time in the podcast game.
Yeah. Yes. Fuck you, Joey Bag of Donuts.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. All right, y'all. I don't like. Should we introduce the guests? Or give you know, because we've had like 50 fucking countries listen to us since like maybe the last one was on. So let's go. The Tiger, just because I'm looking to my left, he's at the top row. The Tiger is your stock and option guru. He's the baddest man on the planet. He rocks the jewel. He sells the jewel. And he runs the jewels. And then we have Tyson, the Iron Ape Tyson, the GameStop legend, Diamond Hands. And then we have the artiste, the thoughtful, the grateful, the creative, Austin motherfucking Reigns. Kink life.
Amazing callback, Andy. I'm so pumped to be here. I remember when Andy was telling me he was starting a podcast, and that feels like a long time ago. Here we are, 50 episodes. It's really impressive, amazing achievement, and I feel honored to be back. I wish that I had something a little more memorable from that episode than Kink Life, but that's why I'm here for the second time. Let's see if I can make that happen.
Hell yeah. All right, so Joseph, should we start it off with therapy questions? Do you have anything else?
No, like I said, yeah, 50's wild. Thanks for being here, you guys. This is super awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's super sweet. So we're really excited. Like, I remember whenever we were talking, and I was like, Andy called me, and I was like, oh man, I built this crazy supercomputer, and I want to do some podcast shit. And I was like, so I remember sitting in my car talking to you for like 2 hours about this stuff. And then we were like, all right, we got to pick a day and start doing it and like stream it and record it and have like a schedule and once a week. And, you know, we're like, shit, dude, we're, you know, it's 8/1/2022. And I remember us being like, all right, like January 5th is the day that we're going to do it. And it was like, we kept pushing it back because we got busy and shit. So, you know.
No, he was saying January 6th, but he had other shit to do. You know what I'm saying?
That was good. Good call. I was stopping shit.
Yeah.
How dare you? Do not implicate me in that way.
Too late, bro. Okay, so let's start it off with, as we do, therapy questions on this celebration. I'm going to start this off with Tyson because I know he doesn't want to be first. All right. Therapy question number 1. Is the concept of the afterlife or life after death a mere product of man's optimism or fear of death?
Full disclosure, I didn't look at any of the notes.
Well, you
So
just
I have
heard
no
the question.
idea what we're about to talk about. Yeah. Why can't it be both? Right?
You're optimistic about the fear of death?
No, I mean, okay, so reread the question again. So
Right.
it's
Yeah, I like that because usually I say the question to Joseph and then he like repeats it, and I'm like, and I like that because like somebody might not have heard me the first time, so we say it twice.
yeah.
All right, so is the concept of the afterlife, or in other terms, life after death, a mere product of humans' optimism or their fear of death? So it's like, is it like optimistic to think about the life after death, or is it like I'm scared of it, so I have to create something uh, so that I have something to not be scared of if I die?
Like, I still think it's both. I mean, depending on the person you talk to, right? Some people are scared to die and, I don't know, need like a bigger meaning to life. And others are okay with life just being life. And when it ends, it ends. So I don't know. I think it depends if you're talking to an optimistic person or, someone like me who just thinks, everything runs its course, and then once the course is ran, that's it. So I don't know. That's one of those kind of life questions that, like I said, it kind of just depends on. I think your answer is gonna change depending on the life experiences you've had and what you think about life in general, not just death.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Austin, hit us with it. Give us some stupid shit.
I read that. I read that question differently. I read it as, like basically is the concept of the afterlife. Well, I guess there it is with the concept, but is it real or is it a product of our optimism or fear of death? But in hearing it the way that you set it up, Andy, if we're choosing one or the other, it seems to me that first and foremost, it does seem to be a really optimistic thing. I think it's the idea that we get to be something better than human one day. I don't know a shit ton about all those ancient religions, at least the ones that predate Christianity, but they talk about these gods that are better than human and they live in different worlds. And so the idea that we get to go there one day or be like them one day sounds to me like optimism. But sometimes optimism is a reaction to a fear. So I kind of agree with Tyson that there's definitely those things go kind of hand in hand.
I actually, like, after you said that, so basically you and Tyson read it the same way. I read it differently. So basically it's like, is it a construct of man, whether it is optimism or fear of death? Doesn't matter which one. It's
Right.
just, yeah. So it's like, so you were saying both, like, Tyson, like.
Okay, in that regard, yeah, it's like optimistic or extremely arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, Austin was saying like that we could like transcend from human to like become better. It's like, how do we know it's better? What if hell exists?
Don't even get fucking started with that.
Well, I mean, so Andy, you're saying basically if either like man created it because they're optimistic about what happens after they die, or they did it because they're afraid of what happens after they die.
I thought it was an either or, but both.
Yeah, it's definitely like 50-50, but I mean, I'd say...
No, that's just how I thought the question was posed. Oh. But I think after listening to Tyson and Austin, I was like, it's actually like, it's like, is it just man-made because of these two factors, either optimism or the fear of death? Like, it wasn't distinguishing between the two. It was saying like, are those the two reasons why it exists?
Yeah, that's how I read the question.
Yeah, and I think that's a more interesting question.
Yeah, no, so the Tiger, do you have thoughts on this?
I thought when I was reading it, I thought it was a little bit like different. I thought of it more of a person, you know, let's say they're about to die, and they're just trying to like grasp onto something before they leave. So when I read it, I was like, I didn't kind of understand the question as much. It was more of a, is it like when they're dying, or is it in the beginning where they're being taught this, or that's what kind of threw me off. Is like, or is it like midway in their life?
So it's like they're optimistic when they're like coming up in the game.
Yeah.
And then like when they're on their deathbed, they're like praying to God, but they never did before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. What about you, old man?
Yeah, I mean, I think that people have their different beliefs of what the afterlife would be based off of, you know, like whatever their approach is. So if you're, you know, some people are more religious because they're afraid, and they're, you know, afraid of God, or they're taught to be fearful of God and all God's wrath, so they're afraid of that. And that's, some people cling to their religion for fear, and other people do it for like optimism or being generous or something like that. So everybody like would have a different approach. Now, like, there are different views of what the afterlife is. That's like, I think that's real subjective, and that comes down to the person. Everybody, you know, what you would, like, asking someone, what do you think an alien would look like? Nobody would really have the same answer unless it was a generic one, because everyone interprets it differently, do you know? So I think everyone interprets what death would be. But like H.P. Lovecraft had a really cool quote where it was, man's greatest emotion is fear, and man's greatest fear is fear of the unknown. So he talks about how, like, instinctually humans are instinctually afraid of stuff. So we have like fight or flight, want to escape or avoid danger and protect ourselves. That's like our instinct. So we do some things out of fear inherently without even realizing it, because that's one of our most powerful emotions. Because like our fear of certain things is what helped us stay alive, you know?
The only thing to fear is fear of itself.
Well, you know, like, I'm afraid of running through that field because there's a shit ton of rattlesnakes in it. That guy's probably going to live longer than the guy who's like, oh, I'm going to go run through that field. I don't give a fuck if there's rattlesnakes or not. Like, that guy, like, you know what I'm saying? Like fear, and it's like you said before, with arrogance, is like with arrogance, that you take it takes an arrogant fuck to do something like that and think that they can just walk away with it and have no fear of that. Like, no, that guy's, you're reckless, you know? It's a fine line. It's a balancing act.
With arrogance comes a lot of sex. All right, y'all. Question number 2. I'm gonna start with Austin on this one, and then we'll start with the Tiger on the third one, and then that way we're rotating.
Yeah.
Okay, number 2. If it's possible to edit negative character traits that can harm other people from our genes, like our genes as humans, would it be ethical to do it?
Yeah, this is a really interesting conversation. Would it be ethical, or should we? I think are kind of different things, because I think that we should. Well, there are a lot of character traits that I think are a lot more nurture versus nature. I don't know if we can actually, you know, take something like arrogance out of our genes. I think a lot of those things are learned, but would it be ethical to do that? I think that we could make it ethical. It's a newer thing for us to consider, and I think all we have to do is basically decide as a society that it is ethical or that it isn't. But I think that it easily could be ethical. I think it's something that we should be pretty excited about. Well, in terms of, like, you know, genetic modification, obviously not creating superhuman crazy armies to take over the world, but
fuck yeah, like Jean-Claude Van Damme. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Universal Soldier.
But
okay,
yeah,
well, let me ask you.
Sure.
What would be a negative character trait that you think would be ethical to take out of somebody's genes?
See, I really don't think the character traits can come from genes. But let's say that someone is racist, right, as a character trait. Doesn't that kind of make sense? That falls in that category, right? I think it'd be ethical to remove that.
But isn't that? I feel like that's like nurture over nature. Like I don't think anybody's born racist.
Exactly. That's what I prefaced it by saying. I think character traits actually are a lot more nurture than they are nature. But there are some things that are not character traits that are genetic diseases that I think is perfectly ethical to try and pull out.
100%. I think that's where this question came from, because we can now like take out like, you know, like what is it called, CRISPR. You take out like, you know, where you become like have Down syndrome or like ALS or like Parkinson's, like, but there's still like the conversation on like, should we be doing that? I don't know. The Tiger, do you have thoughts on this?
I think he said it right on the dot.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
What about you, Iron 8?
Yeah, I agree with him. Like there's always going to be gray area when it comes to shit like that and moving forward. So, but you got to ask yourself like, okay, so who are we going to who are we going to elect to regulate what we can, what is ethical, what we should and should not, you know, fuck with. So,
Anthony Fauci.
No.
Old man, do you have anything on?
Well, I mean, like, so this reminds me of this movie. It's like an old movie. It's called Gattaca. Have you ever seen Gattaca? It's got like Tobey Maguire, and they genetically modify people to make them like perfect, and he's like a normie or whatever, and then he's trying to like, oh, I want to swim and I can't swim as far and I'm sad about it. Do you remember that movie? I mean, I think that in some ways, obviously, they already do some stuff like that where people are deciding their eye colors of their kids and stuff. There's definitely benefits to it, but I don't think you want to play around with stuff too much. I mean, you know, if your family has like a history of a huge, like, you know, cleft lip or something, or cleft palate, sure. Like if you can address those things, absolutely. But I don't, you know, it's like I want my baby to be like 7'2" and playing the NBA, and yeah, then that's what I'm saying. You get into that Universal Soldier, Jean-Claude Van Damme, all coked out with Dolph Lundgren. And some futuristic like 18-wheeler showing up, kicking down doors, like where you're 2 steps away from that.
Well,
real quick, I was gonna just agree with you, Tyson, which is like, who is the one who's setting that like bar of like what is too far? You know, like, so it's not like us saying like what is too far. It's like who's in charge of saying what's too far.
Yeah, and then like going back to what the old man was saying, like it would just become like who has the most money to pay for the best, you know, genetically altered children or whatever the fuck you want it. Like he was saying, you want to be a basketball player because you're 7'4" and all that shit. It would get wild real fucking quick if it was not regulated. So,
and
ask Yao Ming.
Yeah, you know what you couldn't do is you couldn't have the medical industry or any of the professionals who help come up with it just make the regulations for it. That's so easy to monetize and like push and like push. No, I know, and like push and push and like have somebody that's if I don't know if any of y'all have watched like The Boys on Amazon, but that's a really good show, and that's some VOT shit. Like you're making superheroes. You'd be making superheroes at that point. Like you're like borderline doing that. I want my kid to be a defensive end and run a 4.4 and be like 6'6" and like, you know, 275, and they'd be like, all right, that'll be, you know, $725,000. Like, here you go, dude. It'll be nuts. It'll be like create a player for NCAA football, which is lit.
Fucking Build-A-Bear for rich people.
Yeah, I think like our parents decide so much of what we're going to be physically already, but they don't do it on purpose, so we never really get angry with them.
Yeah.
Could you imagine feeling like okay, exactly who you are is exactly what your parents wanted you to be physically, inside and out? The exact life that you have, they designed that for you a long time ago. I would feel like pretty angered by that, I think, unless they work that out in my genes too.
Well, that's why I only exclusively have sex with Kenyan marathon runners, bro.
That'd be some dystopian type shit. Like everyone's designing their kids. You think kids have disorder.
are.
Like no, like kids have mental disorders now. You think they have mental problems now? If they're all like, my parents designed me in a lab. Like no, dude. Some good like emo music and shit would definitely come out of that. So that'd be a good music wave we could ride for a bit.
What is IVF? What is IVF?
Yeah, but I mean, they're not like they can only do so much. That's what I'm saying. It's limited.
Well,
they're not like,
yeah,
all right.
That's my point. Is like, so we could already like, like impregnate somebody, like embryo that was like into like somebody else, that because that person couldn't have kids. Like y'all were saying, like you can pick like the eye color, you can pick the gender. Like, at what point? Is like, I just want to know what the limit is.
Yeah.
Dick size. If I get fucked over because my parents were poor and I got a small dick, I'm gonna be pissed.
That's true.
That already happened.
That would be true. That'd be furious. They'd be like, sorry, son, we really wanted you to go to college and be a doctor, but we couldn't afford the dick and the dick enlargement. So sorry, son.
Exactly.
What would you rather do?
That would be
go to college or have a big dick?
If you had to pick?
Yeah.
Well, because that's what I'm saying.
If you had a dick.
What was it a point system where it's like, okay, you have 100 attribute points and you can put them on like intelligence, charisma, agility, endurance, right? Like, is it like, and
there
then
we go.
They only have like 100 and that would be like physique or physical attributes, and you had
That's
to be
fucking socialism.
But I mean, you could build whatever, but you had to apply the appropriate points there, so you couldn't create a maxed out kid on level 1. Your kid's gonna max out at a certain point. When your kid's 100, it's not gonna be 100 strength and 100 speed. You gotta pick one.
Yeah, we're taking classic MMO like video games.
Yeah, I just turned it into that. I don't know why, but I think that's a good way to look at it. I think that's how it would be almost. You'd be like a catalog.
It's this really long-winded way of like just going back to aristocracy, where all that mattered was how well born you were, and as long as everybody can trace it back to, this family or these 2 families or these 3 families, then you were fine. But if you couldn't prove that, I guess then, you basically don't have any opportunity towards upward mobility. And so it really is just kind of like going back to what we had going a few hundred years ago, but with much better novel opportunities.
What if
opportunities?
What if you were able to change it during your lifetime instead of when you're born? I think that would be a lot better.
Oh, you mean like I don't like my brown eyes, so I change them to blue?
Yeah.
Yeah, like level 5, you get to switch it up.
Let's say
brown eyes and dick size, baby.
Yeah, but let's say you go around and you save up money while you're in your 20s, and you're like, oh, I need to get a little smarter. Add a little couple points to your mental intelligence. Within like a week or so, you become smart again.
Could you
leveling up, baby?
Could you become dumber?
Skill points.
Yeah.
If I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm too smart for this shit. I'd rather be an idiot. I guess that's when you just start smoking meth or something.
It's real base, bro. No, yeah, that'd be like skill points. Like, like you can, before like the final time, like, are you sure you're happy with your character before you move on to the next level? You're like, nah. You're like, nah, I want to give him a mohawk instead. Nah, fuck, I want to do a mohawk.
There better be an EFT. Yeah. All right, yo, let's go on. NFT. No, I'm talking about. No, I was talking about the electronic funds transfer of the money straight to me to my bank account.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, well saved.
Christ, thank you. All right, y'all. Therapy question number 3. The Tiger's gonna start with the first answer. Does luck exist for some people, but not for others?
I think it does, because there's some times where I've seen, like a pattern of me getting screwed over. then all of a sudden I get a pattern of me having good luck. Like, yeah, I think it does.
Okay, well, Mr. Iron Ape.
If luck does exist everyone. I don't know where the fuck mine's been, so I would have to. Uh-oh, did I cut out?
No, you're good. It was stalling a little bit, but
Oh.
all right, Austin. What do you think?
I really, really want to believe in the idea that it all evens out. I really want to believe in the whole yin and yang thing because I have the world's shittiest luck. But then if I look really carefully, or at least like kind of like unfocus my eyes a little bit, I can see that I have a shit ton of luck, a lot more than a lot of people that I know. But then again, but I also don't see anybody else get their pant loop get hooked on like a kitchen drawer and then like face plant. And it happens to be when I'm already having the worst day of my life. I mean, like, I don't know. It just, sometimes it depends on
That
what
was
we're looking
very,
at.
very, very specific, bro.
Way too specific for me to just make that up. No, yeah, absolutely. So I like to think that it all evens out. And it has a lot to do with our perspective at the time. But yeah, so I think everyone does and doesn't. I don't think that anyone really has more than anybody else. I think that there's like, I like to believe that there's just like this finite amount that everybody gets, and you don't get it all at once. You might get it all at once, but it's gonna balance out.
That's so you realize how that's not a logical take, right?
Yeah, I do.
Okay,
Yeah, I do realize that.
No, I've got
Yeah.
shit like that in my life for sure. That I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not logical, but I'm like, yeah, maybe. Joseph.
Yeah, I mean, I think that life gives everybody opportunities, and it's like what you do with some of the opportunities and how you choose to spend your time has a lot to do with it. Now, you can have bad luck, but you can also have good luck. Like at some point in life, your life will, like whenever you're a kid, right? And you're little, like your life and how you feel and everything that like goes on is strictly correlated to like everything that happens to you. And so you're like, you're learning all this stuff, and it's like, oh shit, like, man, I was late on my power bill and now my credit score took a hit. What the fuck? Like, you're figuring shit out, right? But then it's at some point whenever you get older, like anticipation and preparation becomes like a large portion of life. So it's like being prepared for what life's gonna throw at you, which is pretty much anything. At any given fucking moment is like super important, and just paying attention to the right opportunity. Now, like, life can definitely pile on you. There was like a long period of time where life was piling on my ass, and it still does day to day. But like in the grand scheme of things, like I think that if I stay on top of my shit, like the big pitfalls won't seem as big, if that makes sense, because I'm expecting them. I'm almost like prepared for something to happen, therefore I'm never surprised, or disappointed. I'm just like, okay, like, I need to be like, I could get a flat tire at any minute. That could fucking happen. Like, that shit happens all the fucking time. Stupid shit like that can pile on to shit that's already going on. So I guess I try to avoid some of that shit as much as possible. Like avoid the small things so they don't pile up as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I look at it is if you put it into a spreadsheet, there's definitely people that got way more lucky than other people, and that's just by chance. Not that they deserve to be more lucky than the other person, or that there was some sort of karma involved. I just feel like you'd be like, yo, this motherfucker got discovered as a Justin Bieber on YouTube when this other kid down the street was just better than him, but he just didn't have somebody look at his video that day. Well, it wasn't because that other kid was like a piece of shit. It was just like I got lucky. So, and then he just, I don't know. It just, to me, it's like, if you look at it mathematically, there's obviously people got more lucky than others, and that's just the way of the world.
Yeah, I do know that I've never really been able to change my luck just because I wanted to. I think that earlier when I said it has a little bit to do with your perspective at the time, it's definitely not just a mental thing, because you can't just decide that, okay, my luck is going to change and I'm going to make it happen. It doesn't happen that way. So there's got to be something else involved that's a little bit more like, I don't know, supernatural, or at least out of our control.
Well, I just feel like random. But I mean, that you should have got a fucking 4-leaf clover shamrock up in your goddamn room, and you would have had that look. Shit. All right, all right, y'all. We are done with the therapy questions. Usually we go to Andy's rant. I feel like since we got 5 of us on here, like for time purposes, it doesn't need to be me just ranting. But what I was gonna rant on, you added as the 4th article on the notes. So
Yeah, we can talk about that.
okay, we don't have to go first with that.
No, that's fine. We can talk about it. Because it's not like it's an article. We can save it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you want to, Joseph? You want to hit us off with the first one?
Yeah. So it's an article from Bloomberg. Your favorite. It's Bloomberg. Your favorite. Your favorite. Call your mother. India's government's. India's been. It's been crazy over there lately. I don't know if anybody's keeping up with that. We have our own kind of shit show going on over here. But the Indian government's fight against fake news, in quotations, targets political dissident. WhatsApp and Twitter are pushing back against calls to yank content and weaken encryption. They've been having issues. Basically, there has been a big move in the with Modi over there, where they're trying to anybody who speaks out against the government, speaks out anything that's anti-government at all. They've been locking up reporters over there. I can't remember his name. There was a pretty predominant reporter who just got locked up, like swooped up, rated.
Yeah, by like the hundreds. Like they're like right up there with Turkey as far as and India listens, so whatever. We keep it real.
Yeah,
but like, yeah,
careful.
Yeah, they're up there. I don't give a fuck.
Well, no, but I'm saying like they're really attacking YouTube and getting they do almost double the amount of videos to be taken down. Anything that speaks out against the government. And there was a filmmaker who, where was it? The Anthem for Kashmir, which was like the government's been trying to get taken down, saying it's fake news. It's fucking crazy. They've almost taken the model that we've been dealing with for the past like 5 or 6 years here with this fake news bullshit, but they've taken it to a whole nother extreme where they're literally swooping people up off the street and locking them away and like saying they're traitors to the government and to their country. It's nuts.
So that anthem that you're talking about, it's like the biggest song in India right now was recorded by a Pakistani, and so it's like blowing up over the country. Like it's like a pop song, and however, India is like so like trying to crack down on this shit to where they're talking about banning the song. It's just a fucking song.
And they're trying to take down like encrypted chats, encryption and apps, like we talked about with the EU ruling last episode, or maybe it was I think it was last episode, where they're trying to pressure these companies into like weakening their encryptions so they can block people from communicating and like hack into people's shit and read people's conversations. It's wild.
Isn't India's trying to be like another North Korea?
I would say like more like another China, kind of like, but okay. So full disclosure, they're the biggest democracy, and by biggest I mean they have the most population, democracy in the world. But it's getting weird.
Super weird.
Like they're trying to make Hinduism the state religion, and they're like. And there's 200 million Muslims that live there, and they're like, they're trying to make it like illegal to be like Muslim. It's so weird. Like Modi, that's the president's name.
You can't have a democracy or freedom of religion and have laws that persecute other people that don't practice those religious beliefs. You can't do that. Like it's like absolutely insane. So like if they do that, they're no longer a democracy. Like they couldn't be. Like you're just oppressing people. Like that's bullshit. Like no, that's like I said before. With if Southern Baptists said you can't dance at weddings and drink sodas anymore, and that's law, like that's absurd. But if they did that and they ruled the world, like or Mormons made everybody wear magic underwear, you're going to prison. That sounds ludicrous, but they would do that if they had that much control, because then it'd be a big Mormon religious state. It's the opposite side of a coin of like a religious caliphate. Which is like they say what Muslim extremists want. It's the opposite end of the coin. That's like what, and we're seeing this theology and people that don't believe in a separation of church and state, and that the church leads the government. That's like exactly what's going on over there, but they're doing it in a completely different way. I mean, we're not locking up journalists. We harass them in like White House press conferences and shit. And
we're not doing it yet. Austin, you have something to say?
I was just going to the exact same place when I heard state religion. Those two words kind of got me thinking, democracy still? Because it doesn't sound like it. But anyway, yeah, no, that's where I was that was my train of thought too.
Yeah, I guess like the one thing would be that they still have free and fair elections, which it's tough out here right now. But that would be the once we figure, if they stopped having that, then I think that would be the end of that. And so, however, it's just the fake news, quote unquote, that they're blocking, but then they're promoting fake news, and then that's what's keeping them in power. So yeah, you have a free and fair election, but everybody believes your bullshit, and then so it's like, hey, they voted for me and it was a legit election, so we're still a democracy, and it's like, fuck. And they have a nuclear bomb. So
yeah, but then you're dancing whenever you do something like that. It's like, oh, but if those 200 Muslim people that live here, if you don't practice what we believe, then you can't vote. So they would do it based off of a religious basis. So like it would be a free and fair election for some. And that's the whole thing, is they would be using there's a self-righteousness that people who have that religious extremism use to justify like persecuting other people. Like it's like something that's bigger than them. So they like, well, it doesn't matter if it's wrong. It's because that's what's right, and that's what I believe is right, and that you're wrong for thinking that like it's like this arrogance. That we've used that word like 1,000 times, but there's a pretentiousness that comes with that. So you think that you have the right to persecute other people, and then still claim that this would be like, oh, we have free and fair elections, or because it would only be for some. Because if you're doing something like that, they're excluding those people in some way. And one of the first ways to exclude somebody and squash their voice is take away their vote. I mean, right?
All right, so I have to say this just because, like, we have to stand up. Like, so Myanmar, Burma, just started listening to the podcast. Well, the Buddhist military has been committing genocide against the Muslims in that country and running them out of the country. They did 2 military coups in the last like 4 years, imprisoned their president, who was a female who won the Nobel Peace Prize when she got elected, and that's happening right now. But all the people in Myanmar are like risking their lives protesting against this, but they're going through the same kind of shit on a whole different scale because they're not considered India. There's not a billion people. So I think we would do a disservice not to bring that up now that they're listening to the podcast. And maybe it's the motherfuckers, like taking over the government or listening. Who the fuck knows? But that's what I have to say.
Well, and that's where you can see these different scales. Like you can even look in time, like, religious like persecution, like, and by that I mean like forcing and imposing your religious beliefs on a large group of people hasn't like boded well for societies throughout all of history. Like that's not something that's like worked out really, really well in the long run. Because you're asking a bunch of people to stop what they're doing and whenever they've leave what they know. That's like it's a bad example, but it's the same thing. Like with Roe v. Wade, someone asked me, like, they were like, oh, well, they were pro overturning it. And it's like, well, that's been the law since my parents existed, since before my parents existed. So like, so who's trying to like actually impose their will upon other people? Like that's a right that there's a lot of women that have had their entire lives. And that's a right that a lot of women fought for their entire lives, and they just lost it, and people are using their religious beliefs as justification. That's fucked up. Like you can't tell me that you're like, oh, there's very few people who are like, well, I'm not religious, and I'm pro Roe v. Wade over being overturned. Most of those people are overtly religious and are very happy to tell you that they're glad that it was overturned.
Are, and I was going to bring that up to what extent do you think that's something that exists in America, namely with this overturn of Roe v. Wade? Feels like, man, I really wish that people wouldn't use their religious beliefs to vote in a democracy and basically dictate certain freedoms for other people. But it's easy for me to say that I don't think you should be able to vote with your religious beliefs because I don't have any. So I guess there I am trying to tell people how to vote, how to have a religion, how to have a religion in a democracy. It sucks because it kind of goes a little bit both ways. I would love if people, I think it should be on some level like illegal to vote based on your religious principles in a country that has separation of church and state. But how could I ever say that out loud? Because that's basically saying don't vote.
You just did.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess I'm trying to see that there's trying to show that there's a little bit danger of hypocrisy both ways, unfortunately.
Oh no,
Yeah.
definitely. No, there definitely can
Hold
be.
on, real quick. Tyson, you have anything on this? You want to jump
No.
into this fucking
I think the whole
bonfire?
situation is fucking ridiculous. I have nothing to say about it.
All right, and then what about you, the Tiger? Because I know you kind of you started us off, but
Yeah. No, my thing is it's like, dude, they're getting crazy. It's starting to be like another North Korea or China, like you said.
Yeah.
That's wrong.
I know it is, and hopefully, I mean, I think it might be this dude Modi, who's like an autocrat, like he's like a wannabe Trump, you know, except for more like successful, more smart. How about that? But who the fuck's not, you know? Like, but okay, Joseph, anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's definitely hypocrisy both ways, but we can see so many examples, like just around the globe, where people have like taken their religious beliefs to extremes and like have persecuted people. You look at the guy who was like, what, the king of, was it in the Philippines or whatever? The guy who's the king in the Philippines, and he's like absolutely nuts and has like a bajillion wives and wears like a gold crown and all this wild shit. And then when you talk about all these other governments, there's all these new autocrat, loudmouth, like borderline racist, bigoted people who are coming out and running for office, and they're tapping. What they're doing is they're rolling in their like some sort of policy and their religious beliefs and fears, and they're rolling that in. So like people, whenever they're like, well, I have to vote, because it's like whenever I have to vote for Trump because he taps into some sort of religious belief that they have. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, so like they're using their they're tugging on their religious heartstrings to get them to do things against their will because they think that that's what they're supposed to do. It's really smart. Like,
It's been the playbook though for a millennia.
yeah, but it's ramped,
what I was
but it's
just gonna
ramped
say
up.
that.
It's ramped up though. It's really ramped up. It's really
No,
ramped up.
it's like religion only exists because they're pulling on the heartstrings, let alone like how they get people to get elected because of it.
True, but I think that the way that they're using it and taking people's religious beliefs and using it for fear mongering in an election is completely different. So I think we're seeing something that's totally unprecedented. No, and like genuinely fear mongering on people's religious beliefs, into being like, well, if you like, it's on a whole nother level. We have someone who's talking about Christian nationalism and how she's a Christian nationalist. That's like that's some wild shit. We have people bringing up some stuff that's
but like you
100
go
years
into hell. You go into hell for the rest of your life is not fear mongering.
Well, you know, but they're not saying like you're gonna go to hell for the rest of your life
For affinity, not even your life.
if you don't vote for this person. That's where I'm saying is that that's a completely different level. They're not allowed to do that. They can't, like, churches aren't even allowed to take a political stance and tell you to vote for somebody. They can lose their tax exempt status if they take a stance as a religious tax exempt organization. They can't say like you should go vote for Trump.
But like Roe v. Wade,
But we do that here in this country. It's just like kind of more unsaid, right?
Yeah. So what I'm saying is what we're seeing is a more overt example of what that far extreme could be. Like we could because this is what they're doing with their journalists. We're not doing that, but that's what I'm saying. They've taken it up another notch. They're demonetizing tons of stuff, banning pop songs, things like that, where they talk about, well, WAP is bad. Like, and they, don't let your kids listen to WAP. That's a horrible song. Da da da. And there's people who would love to have banned it.
That's a wet ass pussy.
There's a lot of people who would have loved to
WAP
have
stands for.
Who would have loved to have banned that song, but they couldn't. But if they could, they would. And over there, they are. Like, those people have grabbed that democracy by the balls. So that's like foreshadowing almost for us. If we don't.
Yeah, that's what my next question was going to be. Do you guys think that's like the direction? I mean, obviously, to me, it's kind of obvious that is the direction we've been heading. But
no, it's a pendulum. We're going to check them. But we'll learn lessons. We'll learn lessons like from what happened there and like how to like counter it. It's my optimistic ass motherfucking self.
All
All
right.
right.
We'll counter it.
Yeah.
We'll counter it.
We'll
We have the best counters. Nobody knows counters like
Optimism.
me.
I sweep the leg.
Optimism as
Everyone
a-
talks
as a-
about it.
Sweep the leg.
I sweep it so good. Everyone says, "Whoa! Did you see him sweep it? He goes down so hard. Everybody, so hard, so bigly. This leg sweep."
Never been a leg sweep like that. Okay, do you want to hit us with Article 2?
That was awesome. Yeah, I just wanted to put this in because I was like, all right, I got to read this article, and it's like a Q&A, and it just made me kind of chuckle. But OnlyFans CEO wants to dispel misconceptions about the brand.
Now, I know the Tiger's like knee deep in OnlyFans, so
What?
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Did-
Allegedly.
No,
Allegedly.
did you read this article?
I read a little bit of it, but when I saw just the headline of it, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, wait a second, that's how they became popular, was just because of porn. Other than that, nobody knew about them or nobody cared about them.
Yeah.
So they started taking their clothes off.
Big facts.
Mhm.
What about you, Austin? Because I know Tyson's over there looking at OnlyFans right now.
Do I get the direct request for a response on this because of the kink life thing?
No, I mean,
Yes,
the Tiger.
yes.
I mean, if you want to talk about kink life, we could change the subject.
No, I thought it was really funny how she just kept in the Q&A. So she doesn't want to be like the CEO of a company that does that's basically just entirely adult content, and obviously it isn't. There's a bunch of other things that people do on that site, and I just think that she found a way to work that into every answer that she gave. She just kept talking about the diversity and all the different things people are into, and she was such like a broken record about it. They asked some specific questions about her leadership style or whatever, and she was just like, yeah, I just love how there are so many different things people are doing on OnlyFans. And it was just like, yeah, no, you said that a few questions ago. Yeah, no, I don't know who's. I mean, has there ever really been a company that made such a big pivot that was later on successful? I mean, maybe besides Netflix or Amazon.
I mean, we actually had episode, I want to say 6. We're on episode 50. It was called OnlyFans Bands, and it was about how they were going to pivot. And I was like, I've never been on OnlyFans, but this is a year ago almost, and I was like, bullshit. Are you kidding me? How you're done. You're done after that point. So the fact that this is on here, that they're still talking about it, is weird to me. But I also Tyson, didn't you say maybe it wasn't you, but somebody was saying that there's other shit on there right now, there's bands and
Yeah, it's not strictly a porn site, which is what obviously that's why we're talking about it, right?
Right, but what else is there?
I have no idea. I've only used it for porn. So
I mean, there's personal trainers. There's people who do exclusive content, use it kind of like a Patreon. There's all sorts of stuff. You can do cooking classes on there.
Cooking, yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
yeah, it's have you guys heard of shit? This is a bad shout out. Whatever that app is, where Vimeo or something, where celebrities will record a 30-second message, a video message.
Cameo.
Yeah,
Cameo. And it doesn't really matter. You can go there for anybody, and OnlyFans apparently it's Patreon also. You have artists and shit on there, and it's kind of cool. But of course you're gonna have porn problems if you call it a problem or whatever. I don't really understand why the CEO
I know Joseph does.
battling
Joseph definitely does.
I know I don't do the OnlyFans, but there was this NBA.
No, but you just call it a problem. Porn problems.
No, there's a WNBA player, Liz Cambridge. She's this big tall chick. She has an OnlyFans, and she just quit the NBA to just do OnlyFans because she's been making so much money off of OnlyFans. But there's people, but there's people who make like weird amounts of money. Like, so I follow Aaron Carter on Instagram because it's just like a train wreck and really funny. And he makes like $500,000, almost $1 million a year off of his OnlyFans.
Is that a shout out to OnlyFans, or is that like a hate on the WNBA?
No, I mean, that's a hate. Well, you can make a hate on the
WNBA
that they don't make enough money. But I mean, that's how much some people make so much money off of their OnlyFans. It's crazy. But yeah, I did.
Griner.
But it's interesting that they paid out like over $8 billion. They have 1,000 employees, and they take a 20% cut. They had over 1,000 people make $1 million each.
Yeah,
that's that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Austin.
No, that was the number that blew my mind too, was that over 1,000 people made over $1 million.
So, which isn't like, why is the CEO like trying to backpedal on what they're all about? Or maybe not all about, but like they're employing a bunch of people, they're making money. Like, what's the problem here?
There was like a problem a year ago. I forget exactly what it was. Like, but where they had to like pivot, and they just thought it was like an existential crisis where it's like, if we don't change, like do a white boy rebrand, then we're fucked. And that's what they did. I can't believe that it's still happening. I thought it'd be like, we're going to say that we're going to pivot, and then we're not actually going to, and everybody will forget about it in a month. So like a year later that we're talking about this, like, I'm just like, okay. But no, what we need to ask though is, 1,000 people got paid $1 million. How many fucking people are on that website who are not getting paid shit? Showing their, like, you know.
Yeah, I feel
like
that's
mama
like,
gave them.
I feel like that's the path to being like a shitty local rapper. Is like, you know, you just like start an OnlyFans and you start posting feet and ass pics, and then no one likes them, and I make no money, and then I just got all my feet and ass pics out there for the world to see.
Joseph's talking about himself.
Bro, it's the future.
Yeah, okay. NFT my ass and feet. That's true. You could do.
I already did.
If
I
you're
already
a hot
did.
chick, yeah.
Oh yeah, well yeah, but I mean,
It's on the cock chain.
I think right, this paragraph or this little blurb, this question explains why she tried to pivot. It's like, you came into this position as CEO from a marketing and communications background within OnlyFans. So she worked in the marketing. So she worked in marketing department, and you previously worked with a cannabis cafe in LA. That's like so random. That's like just a random.
Disgusting.
And she smokes weed. But yeah, I mean, obviously there's other content on there, but this is just a really weird fluff piece for OnlyFans by Time Magazine. I was like, why the fuck is Time Magazine
Clickbait, bro.
talking about areolas and shit? This is wild.
80-20
split.
Thought they'd get the click.
Yeah, 80-20 split's not that bad either. That's pretty good, you know.
Yeah, but I don't buy it, because if you said, so what's 1,000 times a million? That's $1 billion, and they said they made $8 billion. So I'm doing the math. That's not 20%. What, like expenses, overhead? Nah.
Overhead.
Yeah, no pun intended.
Hey, all they gotta do is keep the website running. That's their overhead right there. There's a bunch
advertising.
Yeah, but maybe it's like you know how the United States is with like inequality. It's like, yeah, 1,000 people got $1 million, but then there's 50,000 who got paid $5, and so, or you know, $10 or whatever it is, you know, like, so that eats up the rest of it. I don't know what the fuck. Should we move on?
No, but if you were only making like $150K a year off of your OnlyFans and that was your only job, would that be worth it? Would that be
gross? Only $150K.
No, but I'm saying but I'm just, that's just a question.
Pics?
So I'm saying, if you were doing OnlyFans and you had 150, you were making $150K a year, would that be worth it for you to just do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? That's not that bad. You don't need to make $1 million off of OnlyFans.
Well, I'm just thinking that there's probably a gap in between the people who made $1 million and then the rest of them. Otherwise, they would be hyping up people making 6 figures.
True, and the ones who make 6 figures are like Bad Baby. It's already people who are super rich. It's already like most of the people who make money off of OnlyFans already have a shit ton of money.
What else is there? But like, it's like when they say like, oh, your sports team won like 10 out of the last 12 games. It's like, okay, so that means they won 10 out of the last 13. Otherwise, you would have said 12, 11 out of the last 13.
Oh, right.
So you know they lost that other game. That's what this is. It's like they are saying 1,000 people made a million. So if it was 1,500, they would have said that. And so yeah, that's how you know nobody else does.
Yeah. Like OnlyFans existed before the creator boom, but it really flourished during the pandemic. It was one of those crop companies like Zoom that benefited to the shift of remote work and stay-at-home conditions. I mean, I guess, like, I mean,
well, that's what also we talked about, which is at least it was safer than
True.
you going out on the street on the corner, like you could like flip it to like the quarantine. So that was a good aspect of it. It was like you're safer, not only just from like COVID, but just like being on the, like selling, like, being at a strip club, like you're at your home by yourself. So there's benefits, but they didn't embrace that. They were just like, fuck that. We're going to go give the baby or whatever, who the fuck you said it was.
No, I mean, I think like whenever that happened, it was the way it was always promoted and put in our faces about OnlyFans was that it was like, hey, like, see boobs and see dicks or whatever, like come here and look at porn. Essentially, that's what it was. It's like a dick barn. Come to the dick barn. We got tons of them. And then so to try to rebrand after doing that and after promoting it like all pandemic that way, it wasn't like brought to us in any other like palatable form. It was just like, yeah, like there's just hot chicks on OnlyFans. Oh yeah.
Well, I forgot this part also in that article from a year ago. They were having a real big problem with underage people.
Mm-hmm.
So if they pull this off and this becomes a successful company without it being like porn only, this will be written in like business books in college for years. And be like, this is how you pivot successfully.
Facts. But
if you want to put an optimistic view on it.
No, that's true. And they do have a lot of issues with that because she said they only have 1,000 employees. For how big that is and how global OnlyFans is, they only have 1,000 employees. That includes everybody, including content moderators.
That was actually a comment on my OnlyFans about my penis. It was like how big that is and how global that is. All right, you guys want to go to the next article?
No, it's probably like they need more moderators. They'd catch weird shit like this.
Yeah, you better need more moderators.
All right, this one made me laugh because I was like, oh, but also like, I mean, I kind of get it. But CBD could help cops get relief from stress, insomnia, and chronic pain, but using it, it's dangerous. Basically, you can get fired in some states. There's no rules against them using CBD, but they can get fired. What was the list of states? A handful. Police departments contacted a handful, including Arizona, California, Colorado, Florida, Georgia, New York, Texas, and Vermont. Do not have guidelines explicitly addressing CBD, but several said the issue keeps coming up more frequently now, especially among young officers, and command staff would advise their employees against taking CBD. So this article's from Time, and yeah, it's talking about how some cops like to use CBD and they can they can get fired for it. I mean, I don't know. I think it's kind of fucked.
All right, let me just cut you off. The Tiger and I sold millions and millions of dollars of CBD, and we used to have to tell our customers, because we were selling it on the wholesale retail level, if you have consumers who are cops, firefighters, paramedics, don't let them take this unless it is isolate CBD, which means 0% THC. Tiger, you have.
No, that's perfect. I was gonna say the same thing. That if there's no THC in it, I think it's okay. And as long as they have a committee that can go about it and test them and say what's okay for the cops, I think they should be able to use it.
Do you think CBD is even like as legit as we thought it was for a second?
In the beginning, it was a wild west where people were just cranking out, junk. But now I think it's been established, and there's certain companies that are well known, and it actually does help them. So
So you think that there are like beneficial aspects to it?
yeah, oh yeah. I've used some for my lower back, and it's helped out. So
Yeah, I've used the topical stuff like too, but I didn't know what else was in it. But I hear you. Tyson, Austin, anybody?
I think if we let cops smoke, yet alone just use CBD rather than drink on the job, there'd be a lot less fucking killings and shit. But hey,
Preach.
I don't.
That's
I
a good
honestly
point.
think it's a fucking ridiculous subject to discuss. I think weed needs to be legalized federally. Not even. I mean, CBD is such like I don't even understand why it's a subject. Why can't they even have CBD in their system?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Austin.
Yeah, maybe that's what it takes for it to become kind of federally legal. Everybody feels sorry for government employees who can't use it. But I just kind of thought this, like one of the last quotes, I think, from Vaughn in the article was pretty funny. He said something like, yeah, it's like, the way I've treated it is it's none of my supervisor's concern, basically. It's a medical choice that I've made. And I just thought it'd be really funny to imagine like Vaughn pulling somebody over and asking if they have any controlled substances in their system. And they say, oh, personally, I don't think it's any of your concern. It's just a medical choice I made. I thought that'd be pretty funny. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much as far as I got with it. I thought it made me laugh too. I thought, is the point for us to kind of feel bad for cops and other government officials because they can't use things like this? I don't know. I didn't really feel bad for them. But if it's going to help further the cause, getting people's awareness, I guess people who do take government employees and officials really seriously and people who work in law enforcement really seriously, who knows, maybe it could have some kind of positive benefit to explore this angle. But I just thought it was funny overall.
Yeah, I used to in our last job where we were selling the CBD, I would go down to the next street. It was a cul-de-sac, and it was like less than a block away, just to go smoke a cigarette and get out of the office. And then this fire truck pulled up and like parked right by me while I'm smoking a cigarette, and I'm like, fuck. And then they're like, hey, how's it going? It's like 4 dudes getting out of the truck. And I'm like, I feel fucking weird smoking a cigarette in front of you guys. Like, why? I was like, because you're firefighters. And they're like, well, you should have gotten like your cigarettes from, and it was our company because that's also what we smoked. I was like, I work there. I'm just on a break. And they're like, oh, and they're like, what else do you guys sell? And then I told them we sold CBD, and all the firefighters wanted to get it. And I was like, well, and I was like telling them like, you got to be like careful. They're like, no, we're good, we'll be fine. And they want to do like a tour from the warehouse. So I do think it's getting a little bit better, but you just, as if you like in the position that the Tiger and I were in, like where you're selling to people, you want to make sure that they're like fully aware of like the rules and regulations. However, if you're like a firefighter, I mean, go for it. Fuck it. Like I just didn't, I didn't want any firefighters or cops to get like suspended from their job because they showed up like with THC in their system, like from CBD, because there's some that have like a little bit of THC, but I feel like that was like very rare for that to even happen.
Yeah, there's a part where he says, "Oh, he's like, this is, it's really a liability issue for us." Whenever they talk about him, they're like, "It's a liability issue." But their example is like, "Well, there's a young officer, and he's like, oh, I putting CBD oil on his knee before a run, and it's just normal for him." Like, what? Like, get the fuck out of here, dude. What are you talking about? This cop's just like putting CBD oil on his fucking knee before he goes on a hike. Leave him alone. I mean, obviously it's becoming destigmatized. I mean, what, weed's still like Schedule 1 controlled substance. So, I mean, but yeah, I could see it having potential benefits. I mean, football players have been saying that for forever, and that's the reason they stopped testing for it. There's lots of examples where, you could play for the Broncos and not smoke weed and live in Denver because you played for the NFL. So these cops, even if there's legal weed in their state, they can't smoke weed, but there's nothing about CBD. So if they found a loophole, good for them, man. And like you said, if it's gonna have them being less dicks and not like drinking and driving and all the dumb shit we see them do sometimes, like, cool, like give that cop a CBD vape and let him. Maybe he'll chill the fuck out.
And sneak some THC in there and see what happens. You know?
A little bit more than that.
He-
0.3.
He either gets suspended or he's chill. Either way, it's a win.
Paid vacation.
Oh well, they get paid vacation for less. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, I mean, and whenever I was reading this article too, I mean, it's funny. It's funny that like cops are complaining about not being able to puff like something that's like a weed derivative. It's like my mom's like,
This is how I wanted to answer it, dude. I wanted to go wham.
yeah.
Like, who the fuck cares? But yeah,
It's like
Bring
when
the
my,
ambulance out, and then we'll get those fools high too.
it's like when my
like,
mom
fuck
asked
you.
me. Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. These dudes are getting high. They are taking the weed off of whoever they're pulling over or whatever, and they're smoking that shit.
After they do the cocaine,
Yes.
hopefully.
Well, it's like when my mom asked me, like, "Oh, can I see your charger for her like CBD vape or something?" And I'm like, "No, like you used to ground me because you thought I was high, bitch. Like you don't get to use, you get to charge your shit. Like no, you don't get. Absolutely not. No, you burned that
her
bridge.
Newports. You stole her Newports.
It wasn't Newports. It was
No.
Virginia Slims.
Virginia Slims.
Virginia Slims.
Way worse.
It was manipulation. It was
You
payback.
stole her Virginia Slims, and you won't give her your battery?
Yeah, if she was like, "Hey, let me hit that," I'd be like, "Nah, get your own. Like, go find your own, dude. Like, you don't get to be. You used to get mad at me for having a plug, and now you want the plug's number. Get out of here. What do you think this is?
Cold-blooded, dude.
You think this is Beach Street? Come on now. This is swap meet? Nah, dog.
All right, Justin. You wanna hit us with your old man minute?
Yeah, we don't have to talk. Oh, I just say we killed Zahari, that number 2 guy, today. He got killed in a drone strike. So it was just a quick article about that. We've been chasing this dude for like 20 plus years. SS Cole, whole bunch of horrible stuff. That guy got bombed today in Kabul, I want to say.
Kabul.
And yeah, Afghanistan. So that was just the other article. But shout out Biden. Fuck that dude. We're chasing that dude for a long ass time. So old man minute. So I wanted to rant, and then I'm gonna say my 2 cents, and then I want to get y'all's take on this. But this is something. It's sports related. We don't do a whole lot of sports stuff, but we've seen like this legal paradox / sports thing go on. And I don't know if you are not aware. There's a gentleman named Deshaun Watson. He was a quarterback for the Houston Texans. He was now traded to the Cleveland Browns for the largest contract in NFL history, 100% guaranteed contract of $230 million. Why was he traded to the Browns, may you ask? Well, he sat out all of last year, and before that, he was playing for the Texans, signed a large extension, was one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and had a little tiff with the owner saying something about slaves and making a bunch of racial comments, so he wanted to be traded. Then all these allegations came out about him and some massage therapist. 24 civil lawsuits filed, all by the same lawyer. 23 of those are now settled. One is still active. And then the Houston Texans have also, now remember this, I think this is a huge point. I'm going to bring this up now. Remember this. The Houston Texans have also settled separately outside of court with all 24, not 23, but 24 of these accusers of Deshaun Watson. So he's still got.
What did they accuse him of? You haven't said that.
Well, basically basically forcing himself on them, harassing them, assaulting these women, being a total creep. Yeah, being a total creep, trying to get happy endings and all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of text messages, all sorts of evidence. The same lawyer represents all of them. He's actually best friends and really good friends with the owner of the Houston Texans. And all this took place after the trade. Well, yeah, that's another thing. But he was traded. He sat out all of last year. He got paid last year. He wasn't suspended. He was on the NFL's exempt list. They said just don't show up and play and we'll pay you, because he was demanding a trade, and then these allegations came out. But he still got paid to just sit out. Well, they've had a third-party arbitrating group. A judge decides 6 games. Deshaun Watson was suspended 6 games. A lot of people are pissed off about it. We saw Ben Roethlisberger. He got accused of some crazy shit twice back in the day. Don't ever forget Ben Roethlisberger's a creeper and a half. He got 6 games. We've seen 6 games has kind of been the precedent. I think Zeke Elliott, when he whipped that girl's boobs out on Greenville Avenue on St. Patrick's Day, when he whipped out those titties, he got suspended for that 6 games. But it's kind of crazy. 6 games seems super, super light to me. It's really interesting to see somebody, and the way the contract is structured, so he's getting suspended for 6 games, but the way the Browns have made this contract is he still gets paid. So he's not losing any money. So he's not getting paid, but he's getting paid for it on the back end. The way the contract's structured is he gets reimbursed for all the money he loses when he gets suspended. So in some ways we just watched, yeah, right? And the Houston Texans paid for every single hotel room, and all these masseuses signed NDAs that the Houston Texans provided. There's something there. It doesn't make sense to me, but obviously Deshaun Watson's a creeper in some way, shape, or form. He had a great, pristine image the entire time. Now it comes out he likes getting hand jobs and all sorts of wild shit. And he had 66 masseuses over the span of a year, which is like super red flag.
Dude. Dude's been busy.
But right, like
okay. He obviously has a fucking problem, and I just did the math while you were talking. So he got suspended for 6 games, 24 sexual assault accusations. That's 1/4 of football per woman that claimed that he sexually assaulted. 1/4, 15 minutes per person for 6 games.
That's rowdy. And it's weird because that's why I bring up them paying for the hotels, the NDAs, them settling outside separately in court. Like the Houston Texans are culpable in this in some way, shape, or form. There's no way they're not. There's no way they're not. Because, they settled with all 24 all at once. It wasn't like, oh, we're battling this out. There's one person still battling it out with Deshaun Watson, like about going to civil court. There's only one case that's not settled, but that she already settled with the Houston Texans. Nobody knows what they gave them or what they didn't, but they were funding this whole thing. They were like flipping the bill for this creepy HJ campaign. It was weird, dude. It's super fucking weird. He's only getting 6 games.
This whole thing is about money, right? Like that's what it all comes down to.
Well, no, I don't know about that. Well, not with these women necessarily. However,
well, no, but I'm talking about like the team or whatever supporting him and paying the league paying him when he doesn't deserve to be paid and all that.
Well, what's really weird is Calvin Ridley plays for the Atlanta Falcons. Really good receiver. He's one of these great guys out of Alabama. He was away from the team last year. He took time off. Was having mental health issues. He placed a bet on like FanDuel or DraftKings or something like that for like $1,500. He was away from the team, wasn't even playing, wasn't even on his team, and he got suspended for the year. So
see, that's a great example.
So he got suspended for the year.
He bet on his own team, didn't he?
I don't think he did. I don't think he bet on his own team. No, I don't think he bet on his own team. I think it was something else, but he's not allowed to bet on it at all. And that's a rule. And he got suspended for a year, which is wild.
For $1,500?
Yeah, for like a $1,500 bet.
Don't fuck with the money. Don't fuck with the money.
And then we just watched Deshaun Watson go through all of this. And then I'm saying there's
my point.
Yeah, and there's something there because the Houston Texans also settled. If they had nothing and they weren't culpable in some sort of creepy shit that was going on, there's no way they settled. They'd be like, "Oh yeah, well fuck you, Deshaun Watson. You're a horrible person," and we had no idea. But the fact that they paid anybody anything means they definitely they had to be aware at some point, right?
Of course. But are we surprised? It's the NFL.
No, I'm never surprised really by how much this country values football and sports and money in general over the well-being of its people. Like just
money.
Does not give a shit. While we're on it, Pete Rose is the greatest hitter in the history of baseball, and he's not in the Hall of Fame because of his betting. So I don't know why that's such a pain point in sports, to the point where they'll completely, like defame you and not allow you to have the accomplishments that you have. But it seems like they damn near encourage sexual assault. It seems like they don't mind it at all. In fact, knock yourself out.
Well, literally. However, it's because if people can't trust that the game is going to be played legitimately, then they don't have a product anymore. However, it's next man up on the sexual assault shit. So it's like,
that's a good point.
So like, if we can get away with having them play, that's cool. But if not, okay, we'll get somebody else to do his job for him. But if the entire public is like, this shit's rigged, I'm done, then it's over.
Yeah, and it's interesting because now the NFL can appeal this ruling from this third-party judge. The NFL Players Association already said they're not going to. They're like, we're not going to rule because they only got 6 games. What are you talking about? He's getting all of his. He can be suspended for the year, and he's still going to get his money. So that's the whole point. Is there's no repercussions for him other than like sitting out a couple weeks. But if the NFL decides to appeal that ruling, that means the NFL thinks that they know something more than this judge does, and that's what's interesting. The whole thing is soup because for a third party judge to rule
That they both
games,
they both agreed on the judge. It's a retired judge, so the NFL and the Players Association agreed that this judge can do this, and I guarantee the NFL is going to be like, that's the ruling. We had nothing to do with it. Third party did it. Let's move on. Like. That's obviously what's going to happen.
Protect the shield. We got to protect the shield.
Exactly. And they're like, there's like.
But what if it's a really good brain move on everybody on this? Like where he's actually doing this just so he doesn't play, but he keeps all the money.
Well, I think it was actually baked in where they knew that this was going to happen when you signed with the Browns. And they're like, all right, we know you're going to get suspended for like, I don't know, 6 games. And it's very specific. The 6 games is like written into like the collective bargaining agreement. It's like they're looking at precedent of like other guys in the past, and they're like, it'd be like 2 games, 4 games, 6 games a season, and they're like, it's probably going to be 6. Well, we're going to give you guaranteed money, $230 fucking million, which nobody gets in the NFL. It's like, and then he's like, okay, let's do it. And like they're shameless. He's shameless. The NFL's shameless. Yeah,
it's just wild to see, and it's all over the news today. It's just like only 6 games, and it's like, yeah, I mean, it's only 6 games, and I mean, I thought it would at least be a year, but to see it only be 6, I was kind of shocked because we saw people like Ray Rice go from a 2-game suspension to like basically being banned from the league for hitting his wife in that elevator, and then
but that's when they changed a lot of the rules, and they made it more like uniform.
And then Kareem Hunt, who's currently on the Browns, their backup running back, he was on Kansas City and he kicked that girl on video, and he got suspended, and then he came back, and they all got longer suspensions or were away from the game longer than Deshaun. Now, obviously, he sat out all of last year, so if you include last year, then that's like, but
time served.
Yeah, but like, no, but you don't. But that's what I'm saying is like, is that how they're viewing it? Because it doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, I mean, no.
But to the Tigers' point, this dude does get injured because he like runs around like a maniac, and like he gets hit a lot. So maybe like, not a crazy idea for me like that. I'll take this money and just keep sitting out. I will. I don't want to get murdered.
Yeah, but how long is this contract good for? For the next 3 years?
It doesn't matter because it's all guaranteed money. It's like baseball and the NBA. So you sign that contract, and the NFL is never like this. It's just the first time. So it's like he gets the $230 million no matter if he plays a single fucking snap.
There's been people who've gotten fully guaranteed contracts. He just got the most. The first person who really got 100% guaranteed contract that we saw. Kirk Cousins was like the most recent. He's worked the salary cap geniusly. Second round, a late draft pick, then got franchise tagged, then got franchise tagged again, then signed that
was 2 years, $80 million.
It was 3 years, 89 million. 3 years, 89 million. Okay. Yeah, but 100% guaranteed. That's a lot of money.
Okay, but he didn't have 24 allegations of sexual assault on his ass.
Oh, no. I'm just talking about in getting 100% guaranteed contract in the NFL. We've seen it, but they've never been that high and that long. I think it's like a 5 or 6 year deal. So it's not short. And then we just saw Kyler Murray get his contract extension. He's the second highest of all time, and he got 160 or 140 or something like that.
So it's not even close.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. I think we need to wrap this up. What I want to do is thank all of our guests. The Tiger, the Iron Ape Tyson, Mr. Austin Reigns. Maybe you could make it rain out here in California because we're in a drought, homie. And then I also want to thank Mr. Joseph Huggins, my co-host, for making this happen. Episode 50. It's a celebration, bitches. Joseph, you got anything else?
We should do this again on like 75, bro.
Yeah, you know, if we're all still here.
Yeah. Damn.
Sounds good.
That was heavy as fuck, dude.
Sad,
Come on, now you're not optimistic, you ass. Now, I appreciate all you guys coming on. It was great. You know, episode 50. Everybody just stay safe. And if you guys ever want to come on, just let us know, man. You guys were great. So this was chill as fuck. But we appreciate y'all. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and like always, go fuck yourselves.
So I'm gonna end the Zoom because then it starts rendering. But feel free to call me.
I gotta piss so bad. Later, guys.
Sounds good. Yeah,
Thanks,
I'm gonna
guys.
go too. Thanks, everybody.
Later.